This is Dr. Chris's Radio of Horror on YouTube with another fantastic movie review. The last two of the summer, really, because the day we're recording this is the day before fall, and then we got a couple great horror movies coming up in fall that we'll get to eventually. But thought we'd finish out the summer with the last two big horror movies of the summer. First up is It, Chapter 2 by Stephen King, based on the novel by Stephen King. Sorry, the movie's not by Stephen King. Here's Katie with her review of this movie we both kind of were not in love with.
Hey, creeps and crustaceans. Yes, it is time to clown around and talk about It, Chapter 2, directed by Andy Muschietti and written by Greg Dauberman, I believe. It, Chapter 2, it starts off, you know what? I've seen this twice, and the second time I actually enjoyed it more than the first, but that's not saying much. But watching it again, the beginning gives you the chills and the creepiness with the kids like little giggling and chanting, and then begins with Bev floating in the deadlights and kind of recapping what just happened in 1989 with all the Losers Clubs, how if Pennywise comes back, they will all come back and fight him again. It then goes back to Derry 27 years later, or in the present being 2016, 27 years later after 1989, and you see a horrific act of violence that I know from in the book, which I know I'm not reviewing the book, but I know from going from what I know from the book, that is supposed to kind of awaken Pennywise. I didn't get that from what happened in the film, because all it looked like was a horrendous act of violence, and then Pennywise was there kind of just eat it up. But apparently that is supposed to awaken Pennywise from his 27-year sleep, which obviously didn't, because they also have like kids missing signs all over the place. So whatever. Anyway, you got a lot of blood. Pennywise starts out, and then there are a bunch of red balloons, which again, extremely effective the way they use those red balloons. You start to see all of the kids that are now grown-ups. James McAvoy is Bill, Jessica Chastain is Bev, so on and so forth, come into the mix because Mike Hanlon, who is played by, or Isaiah Mustafa, who plays Mike Hanlon, calls them to all come back to Derry. This was a part that I wish could have gone a little bit more into how their lives were. Just use like a minute or two. I mean, it's been 27 years. Like, you get a little glimpse, but I would like to know like a little bit more about some of them, because they kind of like skimmed them and it wasn't really great. Nice little Easter eggs, though, in some of the kids' lives, like the kid who plays Eddie, James Ranson, the woman who plays his wife is the same actress who plays his mother, which I thought was very clever and fun.
Wait, stop. Hold on. The woman who I didn't catch that. The woman who plays his wife is the same actress to play his mother. Did she like have like a lot of prosthetic makeup on to make her look older and fatter?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. I would never have thought that was a younger woman in that Chapter 1. Good job on them.
Yeah. Chapter 1, the woman who plays Eddie's wife is the same woman that's playing his mother. I could see that. I could definitely tell that from her voice, and then when you see her face, you see it. And, I mean, with the casting of the adults, as far as looks-wise, I mean, they did a phenomenal job. I at first had some reservations regarding Stan, because I thought they would have used like a bigger name star, especially when you know what's going to happen to him. I thought maybe they would have had Jake Gyllenhaal and, kind of done a little twist like, oh, they can't do that, it's Jake Gyllenhaal, but they do. But I regress. The actor who played Stan, honestly, looks just like the child actor, and he did a very interesting job. And I liked how they segued into Stan's like little foray with a puzzle in the sky and looking into that. That was very cool. That was cinematically, and the way they did that CGI wise and stuff. Bravo to you guys. Bravo. So these are going to be some of the last compliments I'll probably give the film. Look, if I'm going from the way I felt after I saw it the first time, I thought it was uneven. I thought it was unfinished in some ways. I thought they put so much effort into so many parts that didn't necessarily need them. I thought some of the CGI was actually pretty good. There's some CGI that's very nice, like there's some CGI with Bill when he's reaching into a sewer and there's like little hands that go after him. That actually was creepy as hell and great. Then you go into a segue with the kid who plays Ben, and Bev's hair is on fire and she's on fire, which I thought was just cheap. And plus, there's this whole thing where the kids have to go around the town and pick up tokens, which seem like some sort of like, I don't know, like a video game kind of escapade that wasn't necessarily needed. Isaiah Mustafa, who is playing Mike, I mean, I know he's been in Derry. Like, he's the only character who's been in Derry the entire time, and he's known as a madman. For some reason, I couldn't figure out what his character was reminding me of, and then I picked up on it that he reminded me of Nancy in Nightmare on Elm Street when she's, like, drinking coffee all the time and hasn't slept in, like, days because she is just so manic and frazzled. It didn't have the magic that the first one did. There's, again, another part, Bev's dad was doing this, like, weird Frank Booth from Blue Velvet kind of thing with sniffing perfume that, look, he was already creepy as hell. You didn't have to make him go into that thing. It's like, we got that something's going on there that's not right, and it's just, I don't know. I was expecting so much more, but I will say this, Bill Hader, James Ranson, thank you so much for giving your performances. You honestly made this movie watchable for me. The only thing is that I do wish that some of the parts that you guys were in, I mean, they have the acting chops, and they could have just made it serious. There's some parts where it should have been, like, just stuck serious, and they tried to put in, like, little comedic things in there that after watching it the second time, I realized, like, yeah, there's a lot more comedy in here that probably needed to be, and a lot more F-bombs than I was expecting. I mean, I didn't count it up, but they say the 4-letter F word a lot. A whole lot. Definitely after watching that second time, I'm like, damn, you guys are really, like, going for the record on this. Like, didn't really catch it the first time, but...
Katie,
woo,
who holds the record for saying the fuck word most? Is it Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained? Don't they have an F-bomb counter alongside the N-word counter?
I think they do. Actually, I think they do. I could be wrong, but yeah, no, I think you are right about that. One other thing that when watching it yesterday with some friends of mine for the second time, I mean, this is before when we were, like, picking up on different nods to different movies and, you know, the Easter eggs and stuff like that, such as, here's an Easter egg. Did you realize that in the scene where they're in the boardroom and Ben is on, like, Skyping in, the man who's speaking in the boardroom that's kind of balding, that's standing up, is the actor who played Ben as a child in the 1990 version of It.
Interesting. I knew there was some crossover in some of those actors where we're going to be, like, doing cameos, but I didn't have a chance to really catch them all. I had to rewatch the movie because I had a smoky experience the first time I saw it because some jackass was vaping in front of me. I nodded off. I nodded off twice watching it. So, God, I gotta say that the experience of watching this movie is probably like the experience of watching Endgame.
How so?
Just the length.
I don't know. I mean,
you got to prepare yourself for this. You cannot go to this movie being like, "Oh, I'll go to the movies. It's fine." I mean, it's a movie we're not reviewing, but I'll mention it. Rambo 5 came out this weekend. And that movie clocks in under 90 minutes. It's done so fast. I was more prepared for that movie to be longer, and I looked at my watch and went, damn, it's over already? Whereas, like, it was like, oh, my God, we'll get on with it. I'm getting there, which I felt like Tim Curry in Clue.
Yeah, for me, it's just, there was stuff that just wasn't necessary, and there were things, well, there are inconsistencies when you're bringing up the kids again that weren't in the first one. Like, I mean, just little things like, hi, the kids' hairs don't even look the same. And I mean, I knew it's a 2-year difference, so, you know, their voices change. Then have their voices change. Like, look, my nephew's 12. His voice changed from 1 month to the next. It's not that completely out of the ordinary or unbelievable to think that their voices would change if you're trying to do like a summer event, especially when they're supposed to be like 13 years old.
Right.
Like that, I mean, you didn't have to like try and like dub their voices to the way they were in 2017. Just leave it. That's fine.
The only person's voice that had to change, unfortunately, was James McAvoy's, because he has a British accent and the character Bill is not from Britain. He is from Maine. So it's the only actor.
I'm talking about the kids' voices.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they dubbed the kids' voices, which they didn't need to.
Right. Overall, we're both not really super fans of the film. I'm willing to give it another watch when it finally comes out in Blu-ray. I'll probably buy it. It'll probably come packed with the first one. There'll probably be like an unedited cut that merges two together. You know, I just see that happening. I'll get it a watch with somebody who hasn't seen it before, because I still love the first one. Second one, again, is hit or miss, but it just seems like they have a lot of the same problems they had with the miniseries from the 90s. Let me start over. Everyone do yourself a favor. Check out and find the trailer for Pennywise, The Story of It. It's a documentary coming out from John Campiano, along with the guys who worked on The Fright Night, The Hellraiser, The RoboCop, The Police Academy. Those documentaries, RoboCop and Police Academy, have not come out yet. But they're putting together a documentary about the It miniseries from the 90s.
Well, and you know what? I think if they would have spent more time focusing on it and the research that Mike Hanlon did through the years and the decades of, like, you know, how each circumstance that brought about it, and like gone back and done that and gone back and like reinvented that or something, I think that would have been more interesting than having the adults go back to their childhoods and reliving certain things. And the thing that I will end on, and that I did notice from watching this the second time, no wonder so many kids die in Derry. I mean, my God. Do you know how many? I counted at least 5 instances where kids are just going up to strangers, strange adults, and talking to them and saying, oh, what's wrong? Oh, what's this? I'm like, well, no wonder you kids are all dying. It's like, what the heck are you doing?
Stranger danger, stranger danger.
Yeah, it's like, hello, you've got how many kids that have been disappearing and stuff, but you've got all these rando kids who are going up to strangers. It's like, hi, but I mean, that is Derry, and you know, people forget, so there's always that.
Thanks, Katie. Check out the rest of the great reviews we have here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. We'll be back in a couple weeks with one more of the last of the summer horror films on the Radio Horror Show.